With tough economic times, we see a lot of good people going through a lot of bad stuff. Job losses, home foreclosures, harassment from debt collectors, and the list just goes on and on. There's nothing worse than not being able to take care of you and your family.
Yeah, but there is hope and there is help. And so join me now to welcome the lady of the law, Kast, with the law firm of Emery, Kast and Walker, a law firm here in Jacksonville dedicated to helping good people in bad times. Thanks so much for being here,
Thanks
Andrea.
for having me.
Andrea, hello again.
Yes. So from what I understand, there's a lot of fear based on the 5 untruths or the 5 misunderstandings or myths about bankruptcy. So what are the main 5 myths you see in your office?
Right. Well, you know, it's hard to see people struggling in these economic times. A lot of good people are going through this, and what they don't realize is there's 5 big myths that we found that people come into our office and they think that, you know, these are true and they're not. The first one is that you're a bad person if you file for bankruptcy. The second is that bankruptcy will ruin your credit forever. The third is that bankruptcy, if you file, you'll lose everything. And the fourth is that bankruptcy can't get rid of bad or old tax debt. And the fifth is that you don't need an attorney to file bankruptcy.
Yeah, it's not the easiest of things to go through on an emotional level and also just the execution.
Even coming to make that decision. So why don't we start with number 1 and let's break these down so we fully understand what each one is.
Sure, you're not a bad person if you file bankruptcy. Most of our clients come to us after struggling for years to pay these bad debts. A lot of people have things like a loss of a job, divorce, a business failure, or some type of illness that have caused them to be in such a hardship, and they need help. This doesn't mean they're bad people. It just means they've hit a hard time. The bankruptcy code and the laws were created to help people through these bad times. And let's face it, even the Bible says, it speaks to canceling debt after every 7 years. So there is help. You're not a bad person.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people think that if I file for bankruptcy that it is going to absolutely ruin my credit. I'm not going to be able to do anything from this point forward. I'm sure that's a fear that you see a lot.
Right, and let's face it, if you're at the point we need to file bankruptcy, your credit's pretty ruined anyway. What we find is that bankruptcy actually helps your credit. It's the first step to rebuilding your credit. Once you get that bankruptcy discharge, you're debt-free. And the creditors then look at you as a good risk. And you can't file for bankruptcy for another 7 years, so you're actually a very good risk to them. And so once you get that discharge, your credit score, which, it is reported on your credit for 7 to 10 years, but it doesn't negatively impact your score. We see people's scores go up from 75 to 100 points after a discharge.
Right after?
Right after a discharge.
Really? Now, if I file for bankruptcy, does that mean do I lose my car? If house is in foreclosure, do I lose the house? Does it mean I lose everything, or how does that work?
And that's the third myth, is that you'll lose everything. In fact, most people don't lose anything. In Florida, there are many protections under the bankruptcy code that allow you to keep your assets, and a lot of assets are protected. Homestead's always protected. We can protect personal property. We can protect life insurance, the cash value of life insurance policies, annuity contracts. We can protect personal cars up to like $1,000 per. And if there's a secured debt that you own, like a house or a car, that you want to keep paying to keep it, you can keep it.
And then the fourth myth that you talked about was bankruptcy will not get rid of back taxes.
Right, and that's not true. We have been able to discharge tens of thousands of dollars of debt and back taxes for our clients.
Really?
Yes, in Florida, state, local, federal taxes, as well as inheritance tax and personal property taxes, if they're more than 3 years old, can be discharged or at least mitigated so we can stop the penalties and interest from accruing.
Now, if somebody's watching and they're thinking, you've got online things to go do taxes, you've got online things to go do all these different things. Can you go online and just do a bankruptcy, or do you need to see an attorney?
You really need to see an attorney. Most people think, well, if I can't afford to pay my bills, I can't afford to pay an attorney. But we have affordable payment plans. We have the ability to work within people's budget for those payment plans. And the experts all say, and we agree with them, that you really need an attorney because bankruptcy is so complex, it's stressful, it's emotional. If you make a mistake, then you're going to run the risk of having your home or your car repossessed or liquidated, and that's what you're trying not to do. We offer free consultations. Your payment plan is affordable. Why not take the risk? Or why take the risk?
Yeah, if someone's watching now and they're thinking, I don't know whether I'm going to file for bankruptcy or not, I just want to go in and learn if I'm in a position where someone thinks that I should be filing for bankruptcy, can they come and just get a kind of a consultation
Yes.
from you guys?
We offer free consultations to anyone who gives us a call and comes in. We'll assess their finances and tell them what we think is best for them.
Well, so there's no need not to if you think you're
Right.
in that position.
Right, no harm if you come in and ask.
Well, thank you.
Lady of the law, thank Andrea. Thank you so
you.
much for being here. We'd like to thank Andrea and Kast for her advice, and thanks to Emery, Kast, and Walker for sponsoring the segment. Now, remember, the biggest mistake that you can make when facing financial hardship is just to bury your head in the sand and do absolutely nothing.
So the team of Emery, Kast, and Walker understands. They say they know what you're going through. They say all they're trying to do is help good people in bad times. So you can email them at www.jackslawyer.com or call them at 904-404-3394 for that free consultation to find out if the solutions they have will help your problem.